I'm attorney Eric Lewis with Lewis Legal Services in Indianapolis. Today I'm going to step up on my soapbox to rant a little bit about bad online advice you'll find about bankruptcy. Now, I'm not going to get into the various sources, what to trust, what not to, but I'm not, basically because I'm not prepared to make an hour-long video, maybe longer. But when it's a so-called financial expert giving bad advice, I'm going to chime in, because a lot of this is, well, you know what. Okay, so here goes. I'm not going to mention this person by name, but he is one of the most popular and well-known so-called personal financial advisors in the United States. He has a nationally syndicated radio show. He's written dozens of books, has over 2 million YouTube subscribers. So you may know who I'm talking about, maybe you don't, but that doesn't matter. The point is, when you have this kind of appeal, people listen to your advice, not as just another opinion, but rather like you're the authority on the matter. And it's laughable because although this guy does give a lot of good common sense financial advice, a lot of the things he says about bankruptcy are either grossly misleading or just dead wrong. So, some of it I get. You don't want people to consider bankruptcy because you got books to sell, and you want them to buy your books to see if they can do something else. That's fine. But some of it is so irresponsible. I was recently listening to one of his segments, and in one of his interviews, the question that was posed was, why doesn't he ever consider bankruptcy if individuals, and this person said, quote, are in deep financial crisis? And keep in mind, this famous individual has himself previously filed bankruptcy. His immediate response was that bankruptcy is a devastating, life-altering decision. Now think about that. A devastating, life-altering decision? If you've done no research about bankruptcy, you hear that from a so-called trusted advisor, and you're immediately thinking, wow, bankruptcy must be really bad. Well, I can tell you that in my years of practice, I have yet to have a client tell me they regretted filing bankruptcy or that it was devastating. In fact, I've had the opposite. Years later, clients I run into in the store or a restaurant or that contact my office for something tell me how much bankruptcy helped them and, of course, helped them turn things around. If it's devastating and life-altering, you're definitely doing something very wrong. And that's all I can say. And the picture he paints makes it sound like people who file bankruptcy have nothing or can keep nothing. He didn't say that exactly, but what he said makes it sound like that, and that's absolutely wrong. I mean, for example, you could have $50,000 in a 401k and file bankruptcy in Indiana and have a successful case and keep that money. You can have a house, a car, personal assets and lose nothing. There are exemptions that apply that protect a certain value, a certain dollar amount of your assets. So anyway, back to the segment I was listening to, and I'm going to paraphrase the segment, but he basically ran through a list of common things that bankruptcy doesn't get rid of. Child support, student loans most of the time, tax debt most of the time, although I disagree with his assertion that it's almost never discharged. And he said, if you want to file bankruptcy to get rid of credit card debt, for example, and have these other debts that don't go away, plus keeping things like mortgage debt or a car loan, well, that it was, quote, and I do this in his Tennessee accent, dumber than crap. He went on to imply that bankruptcy would only be good if you're going to, quote, give up your life, give up everything, and walk away from the debt and start at ground zero in the dirt. Ground zero in the dirt? Really? I thought that was an outrageous portrayal of what bankruptcy does, and I thought that was bad until he started to talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy being equivalent to something that you could do on your own in terms of a repayment plan and meet the same objectives. For example, Chapter 13 is an extremely powerful tool, and it has a wide range of applications and uses. For many people, a Chapter 13 can literally save you thousands of dollars, and we'll talk more about that in another video. Another problem you'll find with listening to the advice of any so-called advisor who hasn't reviewed your unique situation are these general statements that are half-truths or just flat out wrong. For example, this gentleman in this segment made the comment that if you file bankruptcy, you don't get to keep the car without making the car payments. So he made it sound like, well, it was kind of a waste of time because you're not really doing anything. You're not changing anything. Well, right, that's true enough. You can't keep the car without paying for it. But what he failed to mention is how much you have to pay to keep the car. In both Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, there are ways that you can sometimes save literally thousands of dollars on the balance of the car payments. Redemptions where you can pay back what the car is worth rather than just what you may owe on it. Reaffirmations where you can negotiate lower interest rates on the loan. Chapter 13 cram downs where you can lower not only the principal balance and the interest rate, but the monthly payment sometimes. So it's beyond negligent for a non-lawyer to give such careless advice without knowing a thing about a person's situation. Okay, time for me to step down off my soapbox. If you have any questions, contact my office, leave general statements in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.